At times, I wonder why we think so much. I do, a lot. But perhaps we're not entirely to blame here. I've been told that for some of us, genes may be involved. And I think I see the point. My grandmother, from my mother's side, my mother herself, and down to me. We tend to think a lot. We can take one small, minute event or situation or whatever and spend hours on end thinking, and then rethinking whether or not we thought it through well enough. And the worst part is that when the thought is a super deep one, or maybe when the thought comes later in the evening, right before bed, then we're really screwed, aren't we? For me, I just don't sleep at all. A couple weeks ago, I really screwed up. I clogged the bathroom toilet in my sister's home. It was, okay, this is a bit TMI, just a minor poop. And it was in the wee hours of the morning. I used the plunger a couple of times. After a bit of impatience and perhaps some degree of desperation later, I ended up crossing my fingers and decided to flush again, right? I didn't see anything else stuck. There were no remnants of TP or pieces of poop or whatever. So I thought, yeah, maybe this will work. And then I can go to sleep in peace. Well, the conclusion is self explanatory. The water rose and rose, and I literally was saying out loud, oh, please, hell no. And then it started to just flow outwards. But then, to my amazement, as I was desperately trying to soak up the water on the ground with rags, the water just disappeared. I thought, well, that's a problem solved, no? And then it hit me. The water flowed to the back of the wall and it was seeping down into the room below, my sister's bedroom. Long story short, there was dripping mayhem in the bedroom itself. If anything, thank goodness my trip to the bathroom wasn't related to a number 3. Also, equally thankfully, my sister and her partner weren't in the room at the time. They were in the living room, and both of them dozing off. And considering it was a bit after midnight, I wouldn't be too surprised. Anyway, I shouted towards them to get their attention. After much cleaning hell, we decided, yeah, this is good enough. So we decided to turn in. But for me, I was just fucking miserable. I mean, I remember getting changed, I returned to the room, I was sitting by the desk, and then I just spent the next hour just ruminating on what a terrible brother I was. And it wasn't that I felt that I was a terrible brother. I mean, hopefully not. It was more so the fact that I criticized myself for not really having the street smarts to either A, continue using the plunger until the water gets sucked down the hole of the toilet, B, fill a pail with water and force flush by pouring the water into the toilet itself, or, and I guess there's C, just ask for help. I ruined my sister's sleep. I ruined her partner's sleep. Hell, if their dogs were downstairs all getting dripped on by the poop water, I may as well get disowned as a brother. It just sucked. The next morning, my sister looked at me into my still sheepish and pretty guilt-ridden face and just said, yo, it's nothing. My sis actually expanded on her statement just a little bit more than that. She brought up the stereotypical Hollywood-esque scene where something goes dramatically wrong at somebody's house, pipes get clogged up, blah blah blah, and it all turns to shit. No pun intended. Everyone in the cinema laughs. So why can't we do it here? Laugh. Except that's the thing. It's probably funnier when it's happening, fictionally anyway, to someone else on screen versus actually happening in real life. But she had a point. Anyway, literally the previous morning, right before this fiasco even happened, I opened up a horoscope app on my phone and it showed me 3 words. Thoughts are hell, probably prepping me for what was to come. Cue the previous night, I laughed a little just thinking about those 3 words. And then I went back to, ruminating again. It sucked. I felt terrible and stupid. Hell, what are all the degrees for? And I have 2. If you can't even resolve a toilet clogging situation with some brains. I felt bad, really bad. At the time, I was visiting and staying with my sister, so it's one thing to clog a toilet in your own damn home. It's another to do it in somebody else's home. For the next 45 minutes, I drafted this long, dramatic apology message and just sat there perfecting it. And here's a testament to my overthinking. I actually finished writing the message within 5 minutes, but spent 40 minutes making sure it was, well, good to go. By the time I was done, I was exhausted, probably more guilty than when I first started writing the message. And then I was like, okay, when should I send this out? Immediately? Or would I disturb my sis and her partner and their sleep? What about first thing in the morning? I just remembered thinking I would just never get back to sleep again, feeling the way that I did. Nearly 2 hours passed by and I finally started to feel a little bit dozy. The message still unsent. I decided to sit on the sofa bed. I propped myself up against the backrest and I thought, okay, fine, I'll just sit here and ruminate some more and probably never sleep again. But then, of course, I dozed off. And naturally, by the time I woke up 2 hours later, my back was in immense pain. I eventually deleted all of the unnecessary drama out of my message and I made it short and sweet. I apologized for the screw up and I asked my sis how best I could help resolve the situation. You know, we tend to really beat ourselves up. Yes, for silly situations like these too. What I mean to say is, do you find yourself beating yourself up because you beat yourself up? I actually wanted to scream at myself throughout the entire fiasco and just go, stop scolding yourself, you fool. And then I'm like, well, I highly doubt that's possible. And then I laugh because I think, here I am telling myself to stop thinking and then telling myself it's highly impossible and then laughing at myself again for just thinking that. I mean, come on, that's not helpful at all. Anyway, I digress. That morning, I remembered heading downstairs. I saw my sister and a partner. They're both tired, sure, but they were efficient. They were just finalizing the cleaning process like it was absolutely nothing. In fact, my sis said something that finally got me smiling a little bit. She said, hey, a spring cleaning was long overdue anyway, so this is a good thing. We continued cleaning for another hour or two and then bleached the bathroom floors, wiped everything down. It felt good. My OCD self is proud of all of us. I think wherever I go in the world, I get reminded of why thoughts can be such immense hell. In one of my many global exploits, I lived in China for a couple of years. I remember getting out of an appointment with a client somewhere in the central business district in Beijing and hailed a cab to head back to the office. I wasn't sure what my facial expression had indicated as the car rolled along, but I kept noticing the driver glancing into the rearview mirror. Eventually, he said, I hope your day is going okay. I get the feeling you are thinking about a lot of things. All is well, all is well. And I think at that point, it struck me. I'm probably mindlessly staring into the distance and just thinking about life. Maybe about what I'm going to do after I got back to the office, what I was planning to have for dinner, etc. To this day, and it's been maybe 7 years or so, I'll never forget what he told me during that car ride. And this is in Chinese. 天塌下来当被盖. To translate this, what he meant was, if the sky falls, use it as a blanket. And then he followed up with, 如果天不塌下来，那生活还是美好的. In simple terms, if the sky hasn't fallen, then hey, life is still good, either one way. I was just thinking, if this poop fiasco caused me to be so drained, imagine if the situation were even more massive in scale, how devastated I would be, how ineffective I'd be at getting through my day or even my week. Honestly, that's really the little bit I wanted to share today. I doubt that people like me or you may really truly be able to say fuck off to our thoughts. But I think we can do ourselves some justice by endeavoring to try to think a little less, worrying just a little less, and trying to see the bright side of things, even if there may seem to be none. I think that's the key word here, try. We can't change our innate natures, but we can try to make our lives just a little bit easier and more functionable. Nearly 2 weeks later, there was yet another incident of El Cloggo, and I happened to be the one, yet again, sitting on the toilet. This time, we confirm both incidents were not caused by me. It was something to do with some wax or rubber ring or flange or whatever it's called that's supposed to make sure that the piping for the toilet is sealed. But of course, the stress and the constant thinking during those 2 weeks didn't really help me. I suppose I'm just comforted by the fact that, at least, if anything, the incident prompted a spring clean.